A phone buzzes with a notification. Direct deposit received. A person smiles, feeling momentarily wealthy. They open their banking app, optimism on their face. Their expression drops as they tap the savings tab. The screen displays a savings balance of $0. A glimmer of hope as the balance shows $4.12 instead. The person begins mentally subtracting upcoming expenses. They visualize rent, car payment, and a forgotten subscription draining their funds. Their paycheck is depleted before dinner, leaving them frustrated. They reassure themselves, next month will be different. They imagine getting a bonus or cutting back on eating out. A calendar flips to the next month. The savings balance is still $0. The person looks discouraged, questioning their efforts. A voiceover reassures, you aren't failing because you're lazy. A visual of a brain appears, symbolizing the psychological struggle. The brain is overlaid with ancient symbols, referencing a 10,000-year-old brain. A map appears, it's turned upside down, representing the financial map that's upside down. The person sits at a crossroads, dangerous but opportunistic. Scene shifts. Nick sits in a chair. Lighting brightens. The Nick branding appears on screen. Nick introduces himself, mentioning his obsession with psychology and money. Nick is surrounded by spreadsheets and charts. He ponders the question, why do smart people stay broke? Nick addresses viewers, tired of financial anxiety. A subscribe button and thumbs up icon appear, encouraging engagement. Nick emphasizes that standard financial advice is failing. Nick gestures to statistics. Most people think they're alone and struggling. A montage of social media posts shows people on vacation. A person compares their zero balance account to glamorous Instagram photos. Nick cites the Federal Reserve. 40% can't cover a $400 emergency. Diverse group of people, including professionals, look worried. A lending club report appears. 60% live paycheck to paycheck. High earners are shown, also stressed about money. Nick explains the system is designed to keep people at zero. Visuals of apps, commercials, and by now, pay later buttons surround the viewer. A person thinks, if I made $10,000 more, I'd be fine. Nick bluntly states, more money won't solve the problem for most. A graph illustrates lifestyle creep as income and expenses rise together. Nick calls it financial oxygen deprivation. A person gasps for air as their lifestyle inflates with income. Nick transitions to math. A digital whiteboard appears. He draws a timeline. Age 25, $0 savings. He writes $10 a day and shows 2 coffees and a lunch. He calculates $10 a day equals $300 a month. He inputs $300 a month into a total stock market index fund. The timeline advances 10 years, $52,000 saved. 20 years, $155,000 saved. 40 years, $1.05 million saved. Nick highlights that the hardest part is the first $10,000. He introduces escape velocity with a rocket analogy. Bills, emergencies, and social obligations pull the person back down. Once $10,000 is reached, money starts making money. A $100,000 investment grows by $10,000 in a good year. Nick emphasizes the goal, money working harder than you. He warns against being stuck at the starting line. Nick challenges the stop, buying lattes advice. A person enjoys a latte, looking content. Nick explains decision fatigue with a split screen of daily choices. By evening, the person splurges on expensive delivery due to exhaustion. Nick asserts financial success is about a few big wins, not many small ones. He lists big wins: housing, transportation, subscriptions. A person lives in an apartment that's too expensive. Another drives a flashy car with high payments. Nick shows that reducing big expenses automates wealth building. He demonstrates saving $600 a month by cutting housing and car costs. Nick leans forward, discussing the psychology of saving. He introduces temporal discounting with a brain diagram. Caveman eats food immediately, fearing tomorrow. Modern person sees $150 shoes. Brain lights up with dopamine. Future self appears as a stranger in the person's mind. Brain scans show the future self is unfamiliar. Nick says, "You're treating your future self like a stranger." A future version of the person enters the room looking worried. The present self feels empathy for their future self. Nick asks, "Why are you stealing from your future self?" The person contemplates their choices, torn between now and later. A person sits in front of a computer, watching a video titled, "How to Go from $0 to $1,000. The person looks at their empty wallet and sighs. Nick appears on screen, energetic and confident, introducing the blueprint to escape $0. Nick emphasizes the importance of tracking every penny for 30 days. The person writes down a 25-cent gum purchase in a notebook. The person uses a budgeting app to log a small coffee purchase. Montage of the person tracking every expense, from groceries to bus fare. Nick explains that the goal is to gather data, not self-judgment. The person is surprised by how much they've spent on food after reviewing their notes. Nick introduces the anti-budget concept. The person receives a paycheck notification on their phone. The person immediately transfers $25 to a separate savings account at a different bank. Nick explains the concept of friction and why a separate bank helps. The person tries to access their savings, but sees a 2-day transfer delay. Nick instructs viewers to kill unused subscriptions. The person scrolls through their banking app, noticing multiple recurring charges. The person cancels a streaming service they haven't used in weeks. The person cancels a gym membership after realizing they haven't gone in months. Nick discusses the income floor and the limits of cutting expenses. The person looks frustrated after cutting all expenses, but still having $0. Nick encourages learning new skills or starting a side hustle. The person studies online courses late at night. Person starts a small side hustle like selling crafts online. Person receives an extra $500 from their side hustle. The person moves the extra $500 to their savings, resisting the urge to spend it. Nick reveals the shocking revelation: having $0 is a superpower. Nick explains that people with some money are stuck in the middle. A split screen shows one person with $5,000 saved but $15,000 in debt, stressed and overwhelmed. Nick points out that with $0 you have nothing to lose and can make radical changes. The person considers selling their car and changing careers. Nick explains the sunk cost fallacy. The person feels liberated, realizing they have no sunk costs. Nick says, "You are the most agile person in the economy." Nick addresses objections from viewers with kids or debt. A parent looks worried about their family's financial vulnerability. Nick compares credit card debt to a house fire. A person frantically tries to pay off high-interest debt. Nick urges building a $1,000 emergency fund as a shield. The person celebrates reaching their first $1,000 in savings. Nick tells the story of two brothers, Alex and Sam. Alex, at age 20, starts saving $200 a month. Alex contributes for 10 years and stops at age 30. Sam waits until age 30 to start saving, and saves $200 a month for 35 years. A chart compares Alex and Sam's savings growth over time. Alex ends up with more money at age 65 than Sam, despite saving less. Nick explains the power of time in building wealth. Nick urges viewers not to wait to start saving. Nick describes the psychological shift. Savings is buying freedom. The person imagines what $1,000, $5,000, and $50,000 in savings could mean for their life. Nick explains that having $0 means being a slave to circumstances. The person feels stressed and overwhelmed by financial insecurity. Nick references a Princeton study about stress and reduced IQ. The person realizes that saving money is also a mental health upgrade. Nick uses the analogy of a bucket with holes to describe finances. The person tries to pour more water income into a leaky bucket. Nick lists common holes: debt, expensive car, unused subscriptions. The person plugs the holes in their bucket, feeling more hopeful. Nick reveals that people who look rich often have the biggest holes. A wealthy-looking person is stressed by their huge mortgage and car payments. Nick says, "You're free to walk in any direction." The person stands in an open field, contemplating their future. Nick addresses the role of luck and uncontrollable factors. The person worries about medical bills and inflation. Nick encourages focusing on the gap, the difference between income and expenses. The person takes control of small daily expenses, feeling empowered. Nick explains that self-efficacy is more valuable than any stock tip. The person feels a shift in mindset, ready to change their behavior. Nick concludes, urging viewers to act before the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. A person sits at a desk, looking worriedly at a pile of bills and a nearly empty wallet. The person shakes their head, trying not to think about retirement or wealth. A calendar flips forward, showing the next 90 days circled in red. The words "financial fast" appear on the screen, bold and clear. The person stands in front of their closet, eyeing their clothes and shoes. They pick up a fancy jacket, then put it back, realizing it's a want, not a need. The person scrolls through their phone, declining an invitation from friends to go out. Friends text, teasing them for being boring, but the person shrugs it off. A big $1,000 target appears on the screen as the person looks determined. The person opens a savings account on their laptop, entering $0 as the balance. They look around their room, scanning for valuable items. Their eyes land on an old guitar, gathering dust in the corner. The person checks the guitar's value online, surprised it's worth over $50. They take photos of the guitar and list it on Facebook Marketplace. Next, they find a pair of sneakers in the closet and list those too. The person refreshes their phone, watching as the guitar sells. A notification pops up. $50 added to savings account. The person smiles, feeling a small spark of hope. They sell the sneakers, adding another $150 to their savings. The savings account balance climbs to $200. The person feels a shift, a sense of momentum building. They sell a video game console, pushing their savings to $500. The person checks their account daily, watching the number grow. A digital counter shows the savings rising. $600, $800, $1,000. The person pumps their fist in triumph as the $1,000 goal is reached. A weight seems to lift off their shoulders as they realize they can do this. The person looks at a credit card bill labeled high-interest debt. They transfer money from savings to pay down the debt. The person sets a new goal, a 3-month emergency fund. They research investments, planning their next steps. Flashback shows the person watering a small plant day after day with no visible growth. Suddenly, the plant shoots up, growing tall and strong like the Chinese bamboo tree. The person watches their savings grow slowly at first, then faster as compounding kicks in. Stacks of coins pile up, representing big wins accumulating. The person looks more confident, their anxiety fading. Split screen shows 2 lives, one with constant money stress, one with freedom and peace. Clock spins, showing a few years of disciplined saving and smart decisions. The person stands tall, realizing the difference discipline and math can make. Music swells as Nick appears, looking directly at the viewer. Nick encourages the viewer to breathe deeply, reassuring them they are not defined by their bank account. Nick reminds the viewer that past mistakes don't determine future potential. Nick urges the viewer to decide that $0 is no longer acceptable. The viewer opens a new high-yield savings account at a different bank. They cancel 3 unnecessary subscriptions on their phones. The viewer moves $5 into their savings account, starting the journey. Chain breaks, symbolizing breaking the cycle and gravity of financial struggle. Nick shares his own experience of feeling stuck, but also the hope from data and discipline. Nick encourages viewers to comment with their plans and check out the next video for more tips. Nick signs off, telling viewers to get started now. End screen appears with links to other videos and a subscribe button. Nick's voiceover urges viewers to go sell something for their future selves.